I'm Jono, and if you're new here, I do pencil drawings. As many of you may know, I'm a self-taught artist, but the question of whether or not to go to art school is a really difficult one to answer, and a lot of people ask me it, and I don't necessarily always feel prepared to answer it. So in this video, I set out and I went and interviewed a bunch of people who know a lot more than I do about the art world and try to get a better scope of how to answer that question. Also, a huge thank you to Squarespace for sponsoring this video, but I'll tell you more about them a bit later on. So to clarify here, I'm not trying to figure out whether or not it's beneficial to go to art school. It's definitely beneficial. You're going to be exposed to so many things. But what I'm trying to figure out is whether it's still commercially viable to go to art school, or whether it's better to kind of just carve your own way in the art world. The art world has definitely changed since the advent of the internet and especially social media. And I think the way for people to break into the art world isn't as simple as it used to be. I'm hesitant to just give my own perspective here, and that's kind of why I wanted to speak to a lot of different people. Because I didn't study arts, I have a bit of tunnel vision around how I think someone might be able to pursue a career. And it's just not that simple. While it's easy for me to criticize the institutions, there's still a lot of merit that they hold for an artist and their career.
My name's Pamela Bentley. I am not sure whether I'm an artist or not. I chose to go to university straight out of school. And I feel like the fact that there was a whole, like the institution of it made it feel like it was viable.
My name is Vida Madikiogu. I am a fourth-year student and a printmaker. I wanted to learn about the art world more than anything else. And then after that, I wanted to refine my skills. I wanted to learn how to make art that meant something, but also make art that was strong enough to stand on its own and to be able to support me.
My name is Andrew Lamprecht. I am a curator of historical paintings and sculpture at the Zico South African National Gallery. There was a time when the only way to really get into art was through art school. ABC studied art at whatever it was. That's almost always, is the opening sentence of anyone who studied art at any institution. But once they've become established as an artist, it doesn't matter what their background was.
I think what Andrew's saying here is pretty important, and that was one of the biggest reasons for me potentially to go to art school, was because how things would look on my CV. But I also felt that if I could actually make it without doing that, then hopefully it wouldn't matter. I then had the chance to chat to Miles Johnston. He's one of my favorite artists in the world, and it was crazy for me to actually chat to him. I thought he would have quite a unique perspective on this. He is a practicing artist, but also a lecturer.
For anyone for whom art school is financially impossible or not interesting, I don't think you have to be anxious that it's necessary to have a career in the arts. I mean, you'll never have a gallerist or a freelance client ask or care about your degree. It's always going to come down to the work, in my opinion.
My name is Lorraine Loots, and I'm a miniaturist. In the 7 years that I studied, we were never taught anything about business or branding yourself or actually turning yourself into some kind of a business. If you're going to be an independent artist, that's essential to know even just the basics.
Okay, so what Lorraine is saying here, I think, is so on the nose. I think the likelihood of success probably doesn't weigh that much on whether you went to art school or not, but more weighs on your view of the career. So being able to view it as a business. And I think the sooner that someone can have that entrepreneurial mindset, even with an artistic practice, the higher the odds of them being successful.
Between sort of Gumroads and YouTube and stuff, you could get a lot of the information that is taught in a good art school, but what you're lacking is that one-on-one teacher time, because often what happens with an art student is you actually don't know what you're doing wrong. Yes. And someone in 5 minutes of pointing something out can cause a little epiphany that might have taken a long time otherwise to notice.
Art school definitely connects you to people they won't typically interact with, because it really is an instant thing. You're instantly thrown into a TUT group or into an orientation group, and you wind up getting to know these people. I don't think I would have picked up printmaking if I didn't go to art school, because I didn't even know what printmaking was before I stepped into that space.
Vida alluded to something here, which is that she would never have been a printmaker if she wasn't exposed to it in art school. And I think that that's an important thing that art school gives us. It pushes us out of our comfort zone. And I think there's a lot of artists who did go to an institution that would never have found their medium if they weren't forced out of their comfort zone. It also tacks on another thing. A lot of this equipment is incredibly expensive, and there's almost no other environment that we would have exposure and the opportunity to work with this equipment.
I didn't really learn very many technical skills at art school, but I 100% see a way of thinking as a skill. Just by virtue of being there, I was exposed to multiple different views on art. I feel like I don't know where else I would have had those conversations, and I don't know if I would have put myself in the right kind of context to be having those conversations.
I think what Pam is saying here is one of the better arguments for art school. I think it's one thing to learn the technical skills, and a lot of people can teach themselves that. Having a space where you can have a community and to grow the way that you think and to have that as a technical skill that you're developing, that is something that universities kind of specialize in. But can we cultivate these spaces outside of our school?
I think it's changed because of the internet.
Right.
That's important. So that peer group might not be one that is physical. It might be like in your immediate surrounding. It might be people that you have on the internet.
The art school that I went to was very much prioritizing kind of being a professional conceptual artist. It kind of made it seem like the art world was only made up of artists who make things. The creative industry is made up of so many different people that are skilled in so many different things. I didn't see the different options in the creative industry that is made up of lots of different kinds of jobs and kinds of people.
I just want to add on here with what Pam is saying is that a lot of people have a very narrow view of what something might be straight out of high school, and going to an institution or going to art school might blow that out a little bit. Being an artist doesn't necessarily mean paint on a canvas or pencil on paper. It means directing a movie or a form of expression which you might not have had before. And with that, there are more viable opportunities to make a successful career. I found this clip of William Kentridge, who is an incredible South African artist. And one of the things that he said that stood out to me was his unlearning of some of the things he learned in art school. So here's Kentridge.
So at university, I was both drawing and acting in different student theatre groups. And I was advised by everybody you have to specialize. You either have to draw or you have to act, but you can't do both. You'll be an amateur. In the end, I gave up trying to say what I was. I was someone who did drawings and theatre and films, and it took me a long time to unlearn the advice I'd been given and to understand for me the only hope was the cross-fertilization between different mediums and genres.
Art school is one path, right? And I think art school is beneficial. It can also be very damaging for some people. Often you had to defend yourself, not your art, you had to defend yourself. And that led to people really having difficulty.
But I think that also depends on the person. Sometimes those contexts of like debate and challenging do just that. They make you kind of back yourself and you have to defend yourself.
Art school taught me to stand my ground. I don't think I was as good as defending myself as I was before going into art school. I don't know whether that's a good thing or a bad thing.
Not everyone has the incredibly large amount of money it costs to study art.
Taking on debt, depending on your family and financial background, can be really scary.
Fact of the matter is, even if the school fees are paid for, the material cost is something completely different. When you see that bill in your head, you're almost thinking, okay, cool, this is covering everything. But then when it actually comes down to it, when you're paying to make your own work and you're paying for even some of the university facilities that you're supposed to have access to, when you're paying these things out of pocket, then you ask yourself, what is this insane bill that I'm paying actually covering?
There is holding institutions to account to equip their students for the job industry in order to have a chance to make back the debt that their degree may have put them in. But the school that I went to, it felt like they weren't taking responsible steps in equipping their students to make back the money they spent in attaining their degree.
The financial element is a massive one. My family didn't have enough money really to send me to art school, and I was too nervous to take out a student loan, especially for a career that I wasn't sure how financially viable it was. And so for me, it became more of a try and take the most practical steps forward in order to try and make this happen. But that argument isn't the same for everyone. For some people, they might not have been equipped with the skills that I had coming out of school to start marketing myself on social media or working with cameras. So I think there is a bit of a threshold with how equipped you are to make a career outside of high school versus maybe someone needs that extra step, but it does come at a premium, it does come at a price. Alternatively, you save that money and you put that money into having exhibitions and getting out there or sustaining yourself for a bit of time while you work on your portfolio. So when I think about this whole concept, something that gives me a little bit of peace is knowing that nothing's permanent. I could still go to art school. That's still an option. And also, if you're in art school at the moment, nothing is permanent. You can always pivot and you can always change what you're doing, which is something that just makes me feel a little bit better about trying to make these decisions. If you're not ready to make the decision, take your time. Just quickly before I end this video, I want to give a shout out to this video sponsor, Squarespace. I've been working with them for quite a couple of years now, and they played a huge role in my career. Early on, it was really difficult for me to find the time to build an entire website, to learn HTML, and to try and make something that wasn't going to break and that would work just effortlessly. And I felt that Squarespace did that really well. It was so easy for me to build a portfolio with them, sign up, and publish that website. I never had to patch or upgrade anything. I could register a domain with them or set up an online store. As a creative, it's so important to show your work, and being able to show your work with a website was fundamental for my career as well. Being able to make it easy for clients to see your work and to get in touch with you was crucial. Also, every time I got stuck, their amazing support team helped me out. So if you're looking at building a website, give Squarespace a try. And if you decide that you love them, use a soft code and get 10% off your first purchase. This question is a really hard one to answer. I tried to get as diverse a view as possible. It's actually quite a contentious subject, and I'd really love to hear your views, whether you agree with some of the things that everyone was saying in this video or not, and what your experience of going to art school or trying to carve your own way has been. I think we all learn from each other in this community, and so I'd love to hear back from you guys. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. It helps the channel out in a huge way. As always, thanks for the support, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.